The purpose of the Wilkes County Hall of Fame is threefold. First, it is a celebration of our county's history, the people who shaped the community that we care about. As we celebrate, we also hope to show the students across our county today that you can achieve anything. You can be a scientist, you can be a dancer, you can be a sports administrator, you can be a film star causing havoc in Las Vegas. Whatever you can dream, you can achieve it because this county has done it. With that in mind, would those who have already been inducted into the Wilkes County Hall of Fame, and many of them are here tonight, if you are a member of the Wilkes County Hall of Fame, would you please stand so we can celebrate your place in our county's history? The final purpose of the Wilkes County Hall of Fame is through this event, raising money for the students and teachers in our school system today. This money helps fund projects outside the normal realm of state and county funding, programs and ideas that the hope is might just spark the next Hall of Famer.
This year, the money helped us to buy costumes and set pieces, props. We were also fortunate enough I was able to use part of the money to buy a new handheld microphone to hook with our sound system. So usually I rent sound equipment, professional sound equipment, because we do perform to about 1,000 people in 2 days. But I have been very fortunate, and the money has helped so much the past couple years that I've been able to get it to enhance our drama production for that year. This is our 17th one. So this is a pretty big program here at this school.
Several grants. I know we got baseball helmets. I got shoulder pads, and really helped out a bunch. You know, their grant plus some other monies that we were able to pull together allowed us to buy enough shoulder pads to where we're not having to decide which kid gets the best equipment and which kid doesn't get quite as good equipment. You know, without them, there's no way we could have really outfitted the whole team in new stuff. They've been really great to Wilkes Central and to me personally, because I've gotten several grants back when I was a track coach. We got runways, so you know, it's there. We need to take advantage of the opportunity.
The ukuleles are something new for us here at CBLR. With the grant, we were able to get 10 ukuleles, and we have just started using those here within the last few weeks. With string instruments being a big part of the music around this area, that I hope to give them a little bit of that experience, encourage them to try some new things. It means so much. Music education is part of a well-rounded child, and giving students the opportunity to be able to use the ukuleles and just have that funding that we don't otherwise get is a huge blessing.
And so won't you be a part of planting that next seed? There are donation cards that are located on the table, at the center of the table. There's also a QR code that you can use to make your donation to the Hall of Fame. Or you can write a check and put it in an envelope. Whatever way you're comfortable, we will take that pledge and we will put it to work with the students of Wilkes County. Programs just like the ones that you saw there. Now, it is time to honor the people, their families, their friends, their colleagues, as the newest members of the Wilkes County Hall of Fame. From his early beginnings on C Street in North Wilkesboro, Jay Anderson had two passions, music and history. He put his mind toward the study of both. His acceptance to Wake Forest started that path. After a stint in the Army during World War II, he pursued music in New Jersey and actually got the chance to play at Carnegie Hall. In the 1950s, family called him back to Wilkes County, and we are all the better. That path back opened decades of exploration for Jay Anderson into the people, places, and events woven into the fabric of our community.
Jay left a legacy of knowledge to us. He was passionate about history before we had a museum and before we had much written history of the county. He really wanted Wilkes to keep its own history and to be proud of it. He didn't want Wilkes County history to go to an archive in Chapel Hill or Raleigh. He wanted it to stay here.
He was an educator. He was at Klingman Elementary School for a while. And then for years, he was at Wilkes Community College. I think just from the amount of time and dedication he spent to compiling histories of Wilkes County, that he loved the county.
He was a real unique person. He was a kind person. He had a kind of a wry sense of humor. I think he was interested in people. He had a great interest, of course, in Wilkes County. He was a history teacher at the community college. One of the great things he did while he was teaching was to help kids appreciate their own personal heritage. And he caused kids to learn their own family history and have more pride. I would say that was one of the greatest gifts that he left.
I think he loved Wilkes County. He grew up in Wilkes County. The histories that he has compiled there was the book, The First 100 Years of North Wilkesboro. It's history that would be lost without his compilations.
North Wilkesboro in particular is relatively young compared to the rest of the state. It wasn't incorporated, I think, until 1890. And so when Jay was born in 1915, there was still a lot of growth happening. So he knew history, it was surrounded him. And so it was pretty logical, I would say, for him to reach out to, especially the older people, and ask them to share their stories. Because we're better to get it than, from someone who experienced it.
He helped us understand ourselves better. He taught us, what we can learn from history and how it doesn't matter that you're from a small town, a rural background. That doesn't limit you. It shouldn't limit you, particularly with the resources we have now.
I think that we could all benefit from a little bit of Jay's curiosity. Jay had the ability to unite people and to encourage them to do big things. And so he didn't consider himself the official historian of Wilkes County. Instead, he worked with groups like the Wilkes Historical Society, the Genealogy Society, Wilkes Retired School Personnel, to encourage them to write books and to collect history and to preserve local landmarks and organize historical tours, because he knew how important it was, and he knew that it wasn't possible for one person to be responsible for that on his own.
Whatever he took on to do, he did it to the best of his ability. Whenever anything was given to our church in his honor, he always would say, give that to the Boys Town Home or give that to someone else. He was just a good person.
Odds and ends, Wilkes County sketches, a disjointed history. Jay never took himself too seriously, and he never strayed too far from those early loves from C Street and North Wilkesboro High School. Music and history may not seem as important in a world that's focused on math and science, but they are the roots. They're what tie us together. And we understand those ties that bind better here in our part of the world, thanks to the newest member of the Wilkes County Hall of Fame, Jay Anderson. Accepting on behalf of Jay Anderson is a former colleague, Janet Atwood, and Christy Earp.
So what do you know about Wilkes County history? Did you know that our first European settler, a man named Christopher Gist, was the grandfather of the famous Cherokee Sequoyah, who created the Cherokee alphabet in 1821? Or that William Lenore, Wilkes County's first clerk of court, became the first president of the Board of Trustees of the University of North Carolina? Or that, even though we're fond of remembering the more colorful elements of our past, like the murders and the moonshine, we can also celebrate the fact that over the past 200 years, we have been home to over 100 schools, more than 20 newspapers, and many poets, writers, artists, and musicians. Jay Anderson wasn't the first person to discover these things, but he made it his life's work to pursue the records of our past, to seek out the people who lived our history, and to record their stories. He has given us access to our rich heritage through his many books, newspaper articles, and oral histories. Jay wrote the following note of appreciation in his 1976 book, Wilkes County Sketches, and I'll quote that here. "The research and many hours spent on this have convinced me more than ever that Wilkes County is indeed a wonderful place in which to live. The land is heaven blessed. But even more, the people of Wilkes are wonderful. From the first to the present day citizens, there has been and is insistence on freedom of thought and action." Now, I hesitate to admit this since I also came into being in 1976, but it's been 47 years since these words were recorded. A lot has changed in our county in those years, but I think Jay would sincerely hope that the people of Wilkes still value our history and that we still insist upon freedom of thought and action. On behalf of Jay Anderson, Janet Atwood, and Wilkes Community College, thank you for this recognition of Jay Anderson.
Sometimes teachers and principals command students with their reputation. Sometimes it's just a look. In the case of our next inductee, any student at Wilkes Central circa the 1980s, well, they know how he got your attention. Deep, resonant, savvy with the tempo he used. Mr. Stone. That, by the way, is an example, not that I ever heard that. Likely the students who learned from Dr. Alexander Irwin at Lincoln Heights, at Wilkesboro, and at C.C. Wright know that sound. And they know the care that he showed for every student.
Dr. Irwin and I were colleagues together at Wilkes Central High School starting in 1979. Dr. Irwin was always professional in every sense of the word. I don't think I remember a day when we were at Wilkes Central when he didn't come in with the suit and a tie on. He was always an educator who pushed for the very best.
Dr. Irwin is passionate about motivating teachers, motivating principals, motivating communities just to be the best they can be. He wants to make his community, his town a better place. He wants to make us better so we can make our community and towns a better place. It goes back to his teaching roots at Lincoln Heights School where he felt a calling to teach. And from that calling, he left, went from Lincoln Heights to Wilkes Central High School to become a principal. Just his whole life has been devoted to education and an advocacy for young people to motivate. So I think it just kind of called him to this area.
I've known Dr. Irwin since 2006 when I first entered the Leadership Studies PhD program at North Carolina A&T. And Dr. Irwin created this program and he maintained a great program and a great network of scholars, of friends, of cohort members that still lasts even today. Dr. Irwin, I consider him to be a friend, a mentor, father figure, and an academic colleague. He built this program from the ground up, and he was able to create an environment of inclusiveness, an environment where people felt they belonged and they could talk about their scholarship. Dr. Irwin is someone who is always dedicated to the task at hand.
He had a way of making you feel like you were a part of a family. And in a sense, it was a huge educational family out there. He always made you feel important. He knew each student. He knew a little something about each one of them. These are the students that would come in to him, talk to him, or it would be a student that would be referred to him, but he would always take the time to know that special thing about them when he talked to them so he could encourage them to achieve more.
He always share with us his beginnings, his background, and say, look, I started with nothing, I'll end up with nothing, but I want you to persevere. I want you to achieve your goal, achieve your dream. And then when I achieve my goal, my dream, he is prouder that we've achieved our goals and our dreams. Anyone who comes in contact with him, you got to rise to the occasion. You got to be, I need you to be better.
He's a person that people should really know that they have someone who has done so many great things and inspired so many people and impacted so many lives. People that he may not even know the lives he's impacted. Dr. Irwin is totally worthy of this great honor from the Wilkes County Hall of Fame.
Dr. Irwin has many firsts in his career as an African-American educator, though I'm not sure many of us ever really considered that. We saw him as a man who cared, held students to a high standard, and worked every day to make you better. That continued when he left the Wilkes County schools and became a leader in higher education. Dozens of colleges and universities touched by his dedication to education and to leadership. Tonight, he joins the list of educators in the Wilkes County Hall of Fame, Dr. Alexander Irwin.
I am humbled tonight. I want to do something probably Morgan and I didn't ask, but I want everyone that I taught or you worked with me in the school system or at one of the universities. Would you please stand for a moment? Thank you. We talked about legacy. That is my legacy. When I think about coming to Wilkes County in 1964, 65, I was a young lad, just out of college. I was going to set the world afire. But as I thought about it, there was a minister, Reverend Frank Bailey. He's deceased now. But he said to the new teachers that year at Lincoln Heights, if you're not here for business, you have no business here. That has stayed with me, and it stayed with me as I worked here in Wilkes County. Wilkes County is home to me. I've lived here in Wilkes County 59 years, soon to be 60. That's longer than I've lived anywhere else. Wilkes County has been and will always be home to me. Many people thought, well, he's worked here, he's worked there. But every place I worked, I commuted back to home, back to Wilkes County. So I stand before you tonight to say to you, Wilkes County is my legacy. If I have anything that I have accomplished, it's because of the students, the parents, and I'll stop there and make a note. The parents in Wilkes County said to me, and Arnold Lake is one, Arnold had many children, and I was there for them in elementary school, in high school, and even at Appalachian, I saw some of them. So the parents and the teachers in Wilkes County made me who I am. They deserve this award because without them, I would not have been there. There's an old African proverb that says it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it takes families to raise me. All of my families, all of the schools where I was a principal or a teacher, I considered the students my children. I always believed that I wanted to teach and treat every child as though that child was my child. And I knew if I did that, I wouldn't go wrong, couldn't make a mistake. So I stand before you this evening and say to you, thank you, Wilkes County. And the songwriter said, I never would have made it, I never could have made it without you. And so I say to you, Wilkes County, the Stone family, the Wilkes County Hall of Fame Board of Directors, it is my pleasure, it is my hope and my dream that I have inspired some young person as I passed along this way, that my living will not have been in vain, and my legacy will be the students, the parents, the teachers that I have come in contact with wherever I have been. That's why, Mr. Lewis, one of the teachers at Wilkes Central, and when you start picking out your best, you have to pick out all of them. And I would say to those who worked with me, not for me, nobody ever worked for me, you worked with me, you were a team. And I say to them, you made me who I am. And in closing, I want to thank my mother, who is 104, still independent, still lives alone, and still says, Alec, you have to come home sometime. And I say, Mother, I'm at home. I'm at home in Wilkes County. Thank you. I have been and will always know that Wilkes County is the place to be. Thank you.
At the age of 4, David Johnson learned to play a classic Gibson guitar. 2 years later, he received his very own acoustic guitar. No surprise. After all, 5 generations of the Johnson family came to love music, and those notes were laid in the heart of David Johnson. Those notes were heard through his work on WBTV with Bill Hefner, with another WBTV alum in Arthur Smith, Chapel Hill's own George Hamilton IV. David Johnson, not only a musician, but he became a shaper of the music, keeping alive his Appalachian heritage.
Pap, you tell us when they want us to pick. You can just go ahead and do your thing. Well, anything you want to pick, I'll follow you.
Yeah, we'll try Joe Clark.
Old Joe Clark.
David grew up in a rural area, a little place called Purlear. And being a lifelong citizen of Wilkes County, he's a product of Wilkes County in every way. Kind and fair to your neighbors, and those values that, that so many of us have seen disappear in a lot of ways. David is very much of the world, but he's still the best parts of Wilkes County.
The biggest thing that he means to Wilkes County is that he's somebody that understands who we are. We're not mountain people and we're not Piedmont people. We're very different here.
And I think you can say that. If you want to live the wild life, but not lose any of the things that are precious to you, like your family, your town, your community. Sometimes there seems to be a swap. If I want to have success in this area, I'm going to have to choose the world's definition of fame, which means leaving everything. David said, no. You can really live fully with all of your talents, but not have to compromise what you really hold precious.
On the surface, he's something that Wilkes County can be proud of, like Tyson and Carolina Mirror and NASCAR, all those things. He was the Southern Gospel Music Association Recording Musician of the Year 2 years. He's been nominated for Dove, a couple of Dove Awards. But this is his dad played music, his mom's brothers played music. They played on WKBC radio in the 40s.
I can't remember not being interested in it. I think I was about four and a half somewhere when I was trying to hold the guitar up and pick it, but I can't remember not hearing it. It was all around me. They had the radio and the record player going all the time. Daddy played the guitar every night. He picked that banjo when I was a little fella. That stuff tore me up. I thought everybody played. I mean, I thought, everybody picked at their house. I was in school talking to other youngins before I know that it wasn't something everybody did, We had it all the time.
He's a music savant. He knows more about some instruments without having played them than some people who have practiced forever. He just understands music. He loves it.
When a songwriter comes and he says, I've got a song I've written and I want it to sound like this, but I don't have any idea how to get that, and he can do that for them. And he's the same. It doesn't matter if you're a big deal or if you're just a little fish. You're going to get the same David Johnson every time.
He's that guy that has always given back. And then as his life has evolved, David's, I won't say convicted by, but it's impressed on his heart, homelessness and hunger. We used to didn't think about people going hungry, especially in rural areas. Now we do. And David and his wife Ann have sort of spearheaded several events and ongoing ministries to get people fed and to help people that don't have as much. He's kind of all heart that way. It's never, if I'm doing great, then it's okay. If I'm doing great, then I want to help somebody else. We need more people with his heart. Anytime you get a chance to spend time around him, he'll make you feel better. Everybody in the music world knows who David Johnson is, but people not in the music world, they may not know his name, but if they encounter him, they'll remember how he made them feel.
The only thing I'd like to say, I'd just like to advise everybody to keep up with the music business.
That's right.
Once it gets in you, you're not going to lose it.
If you're watching this, welcome to Wilkes County. This is the way we live over here.
Miller's Creek.
David Johnson visited Nashville during his work with George Hamilton IV, but decided that Wilkes County was where he wanted to live. And from here, he has contributed to shape the melodies and tell the stories in the way that only music can. Another member of our community's rich musical heritage. We proudly welcome David Johnson into the Wilkes County Hall of Fame.
Let me get out my windshields. Ann said keep this short, so I got to do what the boss says. Did you ever fold anything up so good? All right. I just want to make sure I didn't forget some things, but this is and was a surprise to me. I had no idea. When Ann called me one day and said, you're going to be stuck in something with some other people that you really, a lot of them you hold dear, and you need to know about this. I am beyond humbled and honored to get to be even named in the same building with some of these folks that are in this thing. I've always been proud of where I was born and where my family traces their heritage back 7 and 8 generations and beyond, up around Miller's Creek and the Purlear area. And I've always been proud to tell people from far away from here, where I have met them, that I've been privileged to live in Wilkes County, because it's where people work hard and they affect the whole country and the whole world with the products of their work, all the things that we're known for that have been mentioned here tonight, the race, the Lowe's, Carolina Mirror, Holly Farms. When Jay was searching the archives for the history to write about, I started trying to do that a few years back, writing a book on players that lived in this area. And I was amazed at our history that I didn't know in my 60s. And if you can impress on young people some really important things as to know where they're from here and what their legacy is and how they can be a part of that in the future. Because the things that Wilkes County has done, the people that have lived here, the things they've shared with the world at large don't need to stop with our generation. I've got some heroes in this thing that I've read about over the years. Some of them I knew and worked with. My good buddy Bill Swafford, who I miss badly. I loved playing some music with him. Benny Parsons, and then people that I knew about that I was impressed with their life and what they did and what they brought to our area and what they gave back. People like Nike Smithy, Pete Kulnick, and a whole lot more. But I've said many times, and I mean it, if the Lord would let me come back and live this life again, there's a handful of things I'd ask him. I would ask for the same family. Same friends. And the same music. And the same folks to play it for. And the same neighbors. And of course, I would ask to be in the same place to live. When I went to Nashville the first time in '74, it took me less than 2 weeks to figure out that was a great place to work. But boy, I never stopped looking east. I watched old Highway 40 and just unfold like a ribbon when I came back. And I said, well, I know where I want to work some, but I sure know where I want to make my bed. And I've never thought any different. It's been the ultimate blessing to be a part of this community, this county, and it's all about the people that are here. Our accomplishments are one thing, but the people are a totally different thing. Wilkes County has been and still is a place, and not all places are this way, where you can have a neighbor and you can be a neighbor, where you can have a friend and you can be a friend. And if you're ever searching for the Lord here, no matter what point in your life that you are, in Wilkes County, there's somebody every 10 feet down the road that's going to be able to lead you to him. And I'm proud of that. One of the first things the brother said tonight was he brought attention to our faith-based society here. And we are. The Lord's blessed us with that, and we need to be good stewards of it. I want to thank the board of directors of the Hall of Fame. A special shout out to Dr. Kelly Pipes, who submitted my nomination unbeknownst to me. And Linda Green, my dear old classmate, I haven't even spoke to you tonight. Where are you hiding? I see you back there. I enjoyed looking over your shoulder during math class. She might not have had the right answer, but she was closer than I was. And my friends that contributed to the video, I love you. And a special shout out to my wife, Ann, and my son, Nathan, and who I am so blessed to have. They're both here tonight. God bless all of you. Thank you so much. I hope to continue to play some music for you.
His term as mayor included the creation of a new town motto, where the mountains begin. Pete Mann's legacy began in the Harmony community, where he and his siblings came to understand the importance of education. From Mars Hill College to Southern Baptist Theological Seminary to Appalachian State, Pete Mann came to see just how he could reach young people, planting a seed where success begins.
Pete had a volunteer spirit about him. He was a volunteer firefighter. He helped to build up the Wilkesboro Volunteer Fire Department. He was a volunteer for us at Merle Fest. He was a volunteer at the Walker Center in the early days. And in the town, he served on numerous projects and committees even before he was mayor.
And his background was very interesting. He grew up on a tobacco farm, no indoor plumbing. Tobacco farming's hard work. And so I think it ignited in him this passion to get an education and improve himself. And he certainly was able to do that. But I think that also gave him that common touch with ordinary people to where, you know, he could go in a room and be able to connect with you, whoever you are.
Pete demonstrated his love for this county and for this town. He definitely wanted to have a voice in saying how things would be in the future. And I think he brought a lot just to the mindset of our times back then in government. So I can see him, you know, as mayor, the things that he contributed, as a college instructor. And he was also deeply involved in our church, which was St. Paul's Episcopal Church. He was in many committees on that church, and Pete Mann could give the best Sunday school lessons you've ever saw.
The average IQ of any room would go up if Pete entered it, but he had a very common touch, what I would say. So while he was really, really smart, he also came across very, very down to earth. And so people of all types really liked Pete.
So I can tell you as a student, he was totally open. There was no issue in coming to him for help, for instruction, for insight, and for advice. Pete just, I would say, was one of the most open people to come to.
I'll never forget him calling me and saying, "B, I need you to meet with Becky and I and a couple of other people." And so we met down on the Watson stage, and they said, "You know, we think we need a greenway here. We need a greenway up and down the river." At the time, we had built a walking trail there at the college, and everybody was coming there to walk, but his and Becky's vision for a trail through the Wilkesboros, connecting from W. Carr Scott Dam all the way down below the bridge there in North Wilkesboro. I think from a leadership perspective in town, the Yadkin River Greenway is his and Becky's legacy.
History was also important to Pete Mann. He helped write the history of St. Paul's Episcopal Church. He also joined with Wilkesboro officials to commemorate a grant that had Wilkesboro's history written. Combine that with 41 years of teaching at Wilkes Community College, you see the past, you see the future. And we see the newest member of the Wilkes County Hall of Fame, Pete Mann. Accepting on behalf of Pete Mann are his daughters, Jennifer Langford and Allison Mann.
Thank you to all of Wilkes County and to the Hall of Fame Board for recognizing those who lead. Thank you to his family and friends who traveled to be here tonight, and to all who worked to support this program. It truly sets a precedent for everyone. Although my daddy, Pete Mann, traveled the world with my mom and many other of you Wilkes County residents, he never wanted to live anywhere else. I know that for a fact, but right here in Wilkes. Other than his family, his greatest joys were volunteering for the Wilkes County Public Library, for the Greenway, serving the town of Wilkesboro both in the fire department and as mayor, teaching at Wilkes Community College. And I always was amazed at how many people, when I went out with him all over to the restaurants, etc., how many students came up and spoke to him. And he loved that. Mostly former students, but also other people, but he loved talking. That's a former student, Jennifer. Okay. He truly loved where he lived. And this is an honor to us all. Thank you.
What percentage of children in the United States meet the daily recommendation for physical activity in a day? That number, by the way, is about 60 minutes a day, and the number is less than 1 in 4. America needs Becky Mathis. She has made getting kids active her mission in life, and our county has been better for it. Basketball, softball, jump rope, and of course, her mastery of tennis. But the phrase "get active" means a lot more to Becky Mathis than just exercise.
Becky Mathis is energetic. She's fun, she's full of life, and she's very much dedicated to purpose. She has a strong desire to impact the community through physical health and well-being. Becky Mathis was the physical education teacher at Mountain View Elementary School, where I served as the principal. She worked there for many years and had a lot of fun with the students as she taught them important life skills related to physical activities.
Becky is passionate and fierce. She has a passion, I think, for this small town community. It's tight-knit. She has a passion for helping people, which I think is where teaching came into play. She was a women's wellness leader, I believe. Her passion for helping people stay healthy, it funnels into different areas, such as health and PE, her pickleball, and her tennis.
I think at her core, she's a woman of faith, and that's foundational to her character and her passion for being involved in people's lives. She does a great job of wanting to include all age groups from children to seniors. She's passionate about it. She's donated her time even outside of Wilkes County, even outside of the country.
Becky has developed skills for all age groups through her education, and she makes learning fun. She's done so much for so many people, and she does it with joy, she does it with passion, she does it with kindness. She tries to bring out the best in people. She has an ability to use the knowledge through her formal education to help others.
Wilkes County means a lot to Becky. She has given back to this county in so many different ways. Although she was a teacher for 32 years, she is a lifelong learner, so she continued to grow and learn to be better herself so that she could share those skills with the people in the community as well as the students in the classroom. Wilkes County is home to Becky.
You know, there's not many people in Wilkes County whose children have not taken tennis lessons from Becky Mathis. Her role right now is to give back to her community, and I think she's very passionate about that. She holds free clinics for adults and youth in the community, and I think that small town feel is what she really enjoys.
She wants to show the best of Wilkes County. I think it's the Wilkes educational system that gave her this platform for her career path. And so whatever she's involved in, whether it's fundraising for nonprofits or organizing athletic activities, giving of her time, she's always representing the best of Wilkes County.
She does it with joy. You can see how much fun she's having. And when she can teach something and have that person have fun as well, it's such a wonderful feeling. She has fun. She has helped others in so many ways, whether it be learning new skills, athletic skills, developing healthy lifestyle choices, a lifetime of educating, and giving back to a community that she loves.
Becky Mathis is a Becky Mathis' latest passion is sharing the hottest sport in America with the county residents of Wilkes. That is, of course, pickleball. She's a district ambassador for the state, showcasing pickleball to kids and seniors alike. She actually knew about it long before it became the current sensation. So make sure after tonight's dinner you talk to Becky, and she may tell you what the next big thing is. For her commitment to the health of Wilkes County kids, we welcome Becky Lynn Mathis to the Wilkes County Hall of Fame.
Good evening, everyone. I'm very honored, very humbled to be here. This is a great honor. I love Wilkes County. I've left many times for short periods of time, but I've always come back. Wilkes County has been a blessing to me. I'm sure there are many people in here who could stand up and say, yes, I've taken lessons from Becky, or my child has, or my grandchild has. So I'm into 3 generations now, and it's wonderful. And I don't see any stopping in sight. But I want to thank you. I want to thank the board. I want to thank the college, the Parks and Rec in Wilkesboro, North Wilkesboro, that have given me the opportunity to use their facilities as needed. For the people, Thomas Sally, who came to me and asked me to run tournaments to raise money for the Greenway, Samaritan's Purse, and the Blue Ridge mothers who we raised money for the military last year. It was a blessing to me. I didn't write a speech because, this all comes from my heart, and I mean it sincerely. I was very blessed to have wonderful parents. My dad always telling me to treat people the way I wanted to be treated, to be honest, to be fair, not to pick favorites, do it right the first time. My mom, who had my back 100%, no matter what I did or what I got into, I was pretty energetic, was always there to bail me out for my dad. And my sister, who is here, Debbie Summers, who I love dearly, always there in my tournament career going, slow down. And I played tournaments for 12 years, was very successful, but I could always hear Deb going, slow down. And now I hear Deb saying, you need to slow down. So I guess that's what I'll always hear. But my life is pretty fast-paced, and I love it. I thank each and all of you for being here tonight. I know everybody had to go out of their way, had to take time. But I'm very blessed, and I was taught by the best in the world, Dennis Van der Meer, Billie Jean King, Mark Korvac, all those that are top leaders in the world. I was very blessed and fortunate to have their instruction, and I continue that today. From someone who just wanted to be a tennis bum to someone that earned a master's degree in tennis and other things. It's amazing. So you can do what your heart is set on to do. You can do that. It is possible. Most of all, I thank God of all the trials and tribulations that I've been through, the ups and downs, the wonderful moments, the heartaches, always pulling me through, and will hopefully help me to continue to teach your grandchildren or you. And remember, pickleball can be taught at any age. So I'm telling you, it's a great sport. The first thing I said to Sarah Ansberry, she was #1 ranked in the world, and that's who was going to teach me how to teach. I said, I'm going to tell you, I don't like pickleball. Matter of fact, I hate pickleball, but I'm going to do this. You're here, and I'm here, and I'm going to give it a shot. By lunch, I'd been on the court 4 hours, and I thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread. It is wonderful. Anybody can do it if you've had knee surgeries, shoulder surgeries, ankle surgeries, heart surgeries. You can do this. And I am willing and able to get you started. One other person I want to thank in this room is Dr. William Scarpa, because one morning we used to go to the Y of the morning at 5 a.m. and do boot camps. And every morning we'd be pulling out, he would be pulling out, or we would pass him on 421, or he would pass us. And so one day I asked him, I said, why? Why do you get up every morning and go work out at 5 o'clock? And he looked at me and he said, because I can. Thank you so much.
Growing up in the Piedmont of North Carolina, David Shelton's love was baseball. His passion for the game led him to play in college, even get looks from Major League Baseball. From balls and strikes to a career in accounting and real estate, and ultimately advocating for the healthcare needs of those less fortunate. David Shelton showed a perseverance and a dedication to working with others.
David Shelton is one of the most intelligent, interesting, thoughtful people that you could hope to know. We often tease that he is more than just nice hair, but he has nice hair too. As a leader with the Health Foundation, he has helped us grow and ensure that the mission of our organization has flourished. I can't imagine the Health Foundation without the contributions he has made. I can't imagine the community without him.
He grew up on a farm in Stokes County, tobacco farm, and he worked long hours, very long days, daylight to dark at times, and I think it was at that time that he developed a strong work ethic, and that translated into his career with Lowe's, and in the success that he had with Lowe's, sort of catapulted itself into a position where he was able to have influence and effect on a lot of people's lives, especially here in Wilkes County.
When I met David for the first time, he was a graduate student at the University of North Carolina at Greensboro, and he was working on the loading dock at Lowe's. David climbed the corporate ladder. Business offices located here in Wilkes County, so this became his home. David could just about live anywhere he wants, but he chooses to stay in Wilkes County. David loves it here. He loves the surroundings. He loves the people. He loves the connections that he has to schools and hospitals and service organizations. He is doing what he loves, and he is serving whom he loves.
For as long as we have known him, good health and good medical care for his neighbors have been two of David's passions. He, like all of us, sees medicine as personal for every person, regardless of who they are.
David is a person who has had incredible success as a businessman, but also in serving the wider community in healthcare and a concern for the needs of others in your county. If there's anything I can say about David Shelton, it is that his care and concern for others runs very deep. There is no graduate of Berea College of whom I am more proud.
He is really good at connecting with people on a personal level and making them feel like they're valued. I think his motivation is to help people and to help his peers and his community. It has been an honor to know David Shelton, and I can only imagine that many people feel that way that's had a connection with him.
Wilkes County is home to David Shelton, and he is deeply committed to the health and well-being of the people who live here, and wants to be a part of making this a place where everyone can grow up to their fullest potential.
David is a faithful supporter, understanding the potential of regenerative medicine for improving patients' lives, knowing that the work we do here will change medicine for the better, not just for Wilkes County, but for patients around the world. The world is a better place because he's here.
How fortunate our family and Wilkes County is to have him. We love you, David.
An American medical leader said the power of community to create health is far greater than any physician, clinic, or hospital. Through his work at the Health Foundation, at Wake Forest, at Baptist Medical Center, David Shelton has worked hard to ensure the people of this community have the ability to live longer, healthier lives. Tonight, we welcome David Shelton into the Wilkes County Hall of Fame.
Thank all of you. Morgan said you have 2 minutes and make it sound like 30 seconds. It's pretty hard to do. But on behalf of the Hall of Fame, all of those who participated in this video, and friends and family who are here tonight, it'd be hard to make it without you. And I'm so grateful for the impact that you've had on my life. There's a great couple of lines from a movie. It says, "Have you found joy in life, and has your life brought joy to others?" That's been a motivating factor for me, particularly as I've gotten out of the business world and try to work more from success to significance, because being able to do a lot more now that I'm in this world of philanthropy, trying to make a difference in the lives of people, and fundamentally driven by how you treat others. A famous poet says you kind of forget what people say or do, but seldom do you forget the way they make you feel. And I think that that is such a driving force for me in trying to make a difference in the lives of people. So I'm now getting beyond my 30 seconds, so I'll try to pull this to a close with this quote that that is a driving force for me, and it's not original, it's not new, you've heard it before. 2 mice fall into a pail of milk. One gives up and drowns. The other fights and kicks until he churns that milk into butter and he climbs out. I am that second mouse. Thank you.
A famous coach said the only place that success comes before work is in the dictionary. Vince Lombardi preached that. Ray Triplett's life showed that. An award-winning athlete, an educator, a businessman, an elected official, a church leader. And in all of those, Ray Triplett was a leader and someone who coached in the game of life.
When you look at all the good things that Ray did over such a long period of time, that you have to say that Ray Spencer Triplett was a legend.
He was very instrumental in lots of things in our community. He worked very hard in the church and worked very hard in our local government. He was a very neat dresser. He was a good teacher. He was a good coach.
He was spread out in so many ways, in so many good ways, and he made such an impact on so many lives as he came along. So respected and so loved by so many people.
From a character perspective, he was second to none, really, of anyone that I've ever met. If you go back and look at his Bible, he's underlined in black, underlined in blue again, highlighted in yellow certain passages of Scripture. And you could tell that he was very, very deep in the faith, and you could tell that had an impact in his Sunday school. And then, of course, his faith carried over into his relationships throughout the community as well. It should be a true testament to him and to others in Wilkes County as well.
As the head football coach at West Wilkes, he had some very good years, some winning years, conference championships, that kind of thing. He was the kind of guy that a generation looked up to. He was the kind of guy that people tried to be like. He taught us how to play the game. He taught us how to win the game. But he taught us how to live our lives. He talked about honesty and sportsmanship and going to church and family. He done a lot of things that goes beyond being just a regular football player.
When you look at all of the good things that Ray was involved in, and they weren't just like for 1 or 2 years or so on. I'm talking about things that Ray worked with for over a half century. He was spread out in so many good ways.
As county commissioner and everything that he did for the county, what he did from that perspective. You know, it's really amazing how many people came up to me, some of whom I didn't even know, and just told me what kind of an impact that he was able to make on their lives and in the community of Wilkes County.
And again, I was extremely proud that I, as one, can say that I was a friend of Ray Triplett. He was a great friend and a great man, and I shall always cherish our friendship.
Triplett and his older brother Robert were early teammates, and family members say that their exploits were legendary. Triplett helped launch the football and baseball programs at the new West Wilkes High School. He spent 18 years playing the game of city politics. He was a Sunday school teacher for at least half a century. Truly a coach, and now a Hall of Famer. Please welcome Ray Spencer Triplett. Accepting on behalf of Ray Triplett, his son Tony Triplett, his daughters Lynn Deal and Beth Ebert.
Well, I'm a lawyer, so this may take more than 2 minutes. But I'll keep it as short as I can. It's just an unbelievable honor to be here tonight to celebrate the induction of our father into the Wilkes County Hall of Fame. And I want to thank everybody here. I want to thank the Board of Directors of the Wilkes County Hall of Fame. I want to thank all of those who supported my dad with the effort to be inducted. I want to thank our family, those in the video who helped. It's just a wonderful feeling, and I thank each and every one of you for being here tonight. I could talk about my father all night long. I won't do that, but I will mention a couple of things I think are worth keeping in mind. I want to do a shout out, if I can, with just a moment of privilege to say that I'm fortunate and privileged to know most of the folks who've been inducted tonight into the Hall of Fame. And this is one more outstanding class, and it's an honor to be included with this class tonight. My classmate Becky Mathis. Many moons ago, Becky and I were at Wilkes Central High School together. Dr. Alexander Irwin taught me history and social studies at Wilkesboro Elementary School in the late 1960s. He's been a model and an inspiration for me ever since. And I feel like my dad was the same for many other people throughout my entire life. And I mean my entire life. I cannot tell you how many people have said to me, "Are you Ray Triplett's son?" And that's all they needed to know. That's been an inspiration for me my entire life, and I think for Lynn and Beth too. He has been known and loved by so many folks, and so many of his students, so many of his players at West Wilkes High School have clearly had him as their model and inspiration. Gerald Langford was one. So many others. I sat in my law office one day many years ago when one of his former players came to see me, and before we ever went back to my office, he began to talk about my dad. And now my dad was his football coach at West Wilkes High School. And now his own father had died before he got to high school. And now my dad became a second father for him. And as we sat there in the lobby of my law office, he began to sob. That's how much my father meant to him. And that's been, for me, I can't tell you what a blessing that's been for me my entire life, to know that my dad had that kind of impact on people. My dad was a very modest man. He had the drive and the strength and the willpower of a star athlete, but he had the humility and the quietness of a Christian gentleman. And what a wonderful combination that was. We've all known and loved him in my family and many others in the community. I want to thank my family for being here tonight. In addition to Lynn and Beth, my daughter Lori's here, my brother-in-law Randy Deal, my brother-in-law Holger Ebert, nephews Tyler Brooks and Ian and Kellen Ebert. Tyler was in the video talking about his grandfather, my father. It is truly an honor to be able to stand here and tell you how much he meant to me, how much he meant to our entire family, to our community, and to Wilkes County. And I am indebted to all of you for this honor. Thank you so much.
Susan Whittington fell in love with horses early on. It's fitting, because whether it was her work to help those trying to get on their feet, working to expose more and more of our residents to the arts, or her work to bring economic growth to Northwest North Carolina, Susan Whittington has put the needs on her back and plowed forward.
Susan has a way of being that commands and inspires respect. As a servant leader, she shares many of the same general traits and qualities of former and present inductees. She's trustworthy, she's ethical, she's authentic, she has good communication skills, trustworthy, and these, I think, are all the kinds of qualities that we want in our leaders, and we want as role models to both adults and young people in Wilkes County today.
The amazing thing about Susan is she is always able to see the big picture. She looks at how can we do systemic change? How can we do something beyond the little details, the things that make something work? What is the bigger picture? What can we do to help the whole community? She has a heart for people that's really different from what you normally see. There really is no judgment.
She's not a person that tries to convince you of her deep beliefs by what she says, but rather by who she is, by what she does. She's a living example of what it means to care for other people, not just with our voice, but with our actions and with our life.
In the terms of commitment, Susan's the kind of person that when you sit around a table and you identify something that needs to be done, and she accepts that and commits to it, she's the kind of person that you don't want to get in her way. Get out of the way, let her do her thing. With her collaboration skills, with her various connections, she will make it happen.
We worked together from the beginning to bring the Circles program in Wilkes. It helped us to see there was a solution to poverty. And that, a lot of people say, well, poverty will always be with us. But we were looking for a solution. She wanted to make sure that the residents of the shelter who were experiencing homelessness had an opportunity to take advantage of that program. So when they got back on their feet, they had some resources that were beyond cash, resources that would help them with their life, with succeeding and moving forward. She's been very dedicated to just meeting food and basic needs for people. And I watched her dedication when no one came, she stayed. She stayed and she was present until a program was in place long enough to where gradually people built trust and they started to come. And it takes time. There's people that have been abandoned and have not been known or looked at for years. They don't often come forward, but she stays present until they do.
Susan can see the value of being a servant, having a servant heart, being aware of little kindnesses that can go a long way, and just making a positive step in someone else's life. There are so many things that we all can do, and I think it all stems from that servant's heart. If you feel that we are all in this world together and that everything we do impacts everyone else, do you want to make a positive ripple or a negative ripple? And I think that most would choose the positive. They think it's too hard, but it's not. And Susan is an example of how that is not too difficult to do.
Susan Whittington is a believer in education, a graduate of both UNC Greensboro and Wake Forest. She supports UNCG in numerous ways, both financially and through her works. She's also a longtime supporter of Wilkes Community College. For her resume of helping others, we welcome Susan Whittington into the Wilkes County Hall of Fame.
Well, I'm the last one, and they said to keep you here until at least 10:15, so. Well, thank you. Tonight has been it's interesting. Jay Anderson introduced me to art. He introduced me to classical music. He introduced me to poetry. He spent many hours with me and James Larkin Pearson, just teaching me how to be. When I went to college, I got a letter most every week from Jay and from Mr. Pearson. Do you think I kept any of them? No, but they were important at the time. Pete Mann was a lifelong friend. And boy, could he teach the gospel. I had the privilege of being with him in his last moments. A privilege that I thank you for. My life has been blessed to be full of family and friends who've inspired me and have supported me and who have lived lives that I want to emulate. My grandparents, many of you knew them, Odell and Edna, up in Wilbar. They wanted the community to be better. That's all they wanted. Kathy McLean tells me that she remembers when she was a little girl, she was raised by her grandmother, and they would go and visit with my grandparents, and that she'll never forget it because my grandmother treated her grandmother, like a lady. And she always had lemonade and cookies, and she accepted them into their house, just like they were one of the family. And that's how I was raised. Everybody was one of the family. My parents and my dear aunts were always there for me. My mother said she never understood me, but that she truly loved me. Every organization I've been involved in, and if you read that, as I've been a lot of them, there was always a person who was there to help me grow the vision. As Gretchen said, I've never been attentive to details. But Gretchen did it with circles. Gretchen and Greta did it with circles, Wilkes Circles of Care, and made that happen. Glenda Andrews made it happen with the Rainbow Center for Children. And back in the college days, in my association with the Alumni Association at UNCG, Barbara Parrish says when I was a freshman, I walked in the alumni house and I said, looks like y'all could need some help here. And I started then and stayed on as a member of the Board of Trustees at the college for a number of years. When I came back to town, Martha Nichols, then Martha Barksdale, came and said, art gallery could use some help. Okie dokie. So right up I went. Martha helped lead the charge to move the art gallery from the little building on Highway 115 to the old radio station, to get a Reynolds grant to put in the system for the appropriate humidity and air conditioning and lighting in the Wilkes Art Gallery. There beside, together, that was done. Jane Rogers at the Wilkes Chamber of Commerce. That's somebody we don't need to forget. When I went to her one day and I said, you know, down in the eastern part of the state, they've got this Highway 17 project. And all the counties came together, and now it's 4-laned. We can do that with 421. And she said, you think? And I said, sure we can. All we got to do is get all the politicians and every chamber of commerce in 7 counties to come together and agree that that's their priority and that they're willing to make their smaller projects in the road world less, and take all those funds. And then people from Holly Farms flew us to Raleigh, and we met with the DOT. But the trick was, we invited them to Boone for their one out of Raleigh meeting that year. And guess what? It was a football weekend. And the response was they never knew there was that much traffic and that many curves on any highway in the state of North Carolina. And from that point, it moved forward. But the 7 counties came together. They actually talked to each other. Democrats and Republicans and whatever. They talked to each other. Porter Taylor, the bishop in the Diocese of Western North Carolina, supported me greatly in my journey and discernment. And Gordon, you know how special you are. The state of North Carolina tried to steal Gordon Burns from us when he was president of community college. And we walked around that campus a lot. And we were blessed to keep you. Thank you. As y'all read through the variety of projects and interests that I have, it seems as though there's no continuity. I hadn't thought about all this until I had to pull all this 50 years of stuff. I'm old. 50 years of stuff together for the nomination when I was told. But there is a common thread. And I want to share that with you because I think it's important, not about me, but about those who come after us and those who are here in this room. There was a book in my life that was very important, and the author is Parker Palmer. And the name of the book is Let Your Life Speak. And there's an important question. And the question is the life I am living the same life you want to live in me? That God has put you here for? Are you living into your vocation? The reason God put you on earth? Living your vocation doesn't mean the job or what setting you find yourself in. It springs from the very gut. It springs from your heart. I believe my vocation has been to find a solution when there are barriers that keep people from growing, when there are barriers that keep areas from growing. It's to help those who have no voice, or those who are being downtrodden by people, or who are held back by the systems. My vocation is a thread that has helped me transition from one need to another, whether it was in Greensboro, or whether it was in Wilkes County, or whether it was in Western North Carolina. What is your vocation? What is the common thread that helps you move from one place and one activity in life? Beatner calls this a place where your deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet. I encourage you each to step out of your comfort zone. I've been out of it a whole lot. And in every situation, discern what is the best way that I can help? What talents can I bring here
As I've gotten older, I recognize, I've been told on a number of occasions, that it is not all one person doing it by themselves. You're sent out 2 by 2. It takes partners in every activity to do it. How can I help has always been my question. What role can I play? Aging has helped me see that the way I did things in the 30s is not quite nearly as attractive in my 60s or in that next decade, which I am in. I've worked hard alongside great people, and I've had much fun along the way. My horses and my dogs and my farm and my friends and my travels. Some of those pictures you saw were from Australia and from Bermuda and different places. My friend that traveled to Australia is sitting here with me, and on my phone is her picture with her koala. I've met wonderful friends in my job and in all my volunteer activities who continue to be a part of my life today. It is a time of transition in my life, and I'm just really excited to see what kind of challenges and joy I will encounter along the way of these next 70 years.
Ladies and gentlemen, the class of 2023 of the Wilkes County Hall of Fame. A special thank you to Adam Foster and his team at Wilkes Communications for putting together the wonderful stories that you've seen tonight, and also for Morgan Mathis for her work in trying to corral all of us. To end our program tonight with one final recognition, would you please welcome back to the stage the board president of the Wilkes County Hall of Fame, Shanna Williams.
Thank you. Last year, we established the Legacy Award. The Wilkes County Hall of Fame Legacy Award was created to recognize those that have made a significant impact for the great state of Wilkes through exemplifying inspiration, service, and dedication to our community. As we get ready to reveal the 2023 recipient, I have a personal story to share. As a young girl, I remember my grandparents taking my brother and I to music festivals across the state. We would sit on a blanket under a shade tree and listen to the sound of the banjo and the mandolin and make new friends and eat Granny's tomato sandwiches. My grandfather Bishop absolutely loved bluegrass music. I currently live in Deep Gap, in the house that my great-grandparents on the Green side built, and I can remember stories that my grandfather would tell of going to pick up a man that lived in the neighborhood and bring him to our house, and he would play his guitar and sing on the front porch with community members. What we often find in life is that things come full circle. My grandfather Bishop died in March of 1987. The fall of that same year, that man that played on the front porch of the house that I live in agreed to help raise some money alongside a local gardener that actually did the landscaping at the house I was raised in. But the story only begins there. Let's watch a video and learn more.
This is the part of the country where the banjo from Africa ran head on into the fiddle of the British Isles in Western Europe.
We went from the one-man, one-night concert to a multi-day, multi-venue festival with over 100 artists.
They come from all over the United States, usually close to 50 states and 10 to 20 foreign countries every year.
We
we make it run smoothly. And the reason why we do that is because we take so much pride in what we do.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to welcome Mr. B. Towns, the father of Merle Fest, to the stage.
Thank you, Shanna. So many stories to tell. When Connie asked if I would accept this Legacy Award on behalf of Merle Fest, my initial thoughts were all of those college employees, administrators and leaders, board members, and the thousands of volunteers who've made our community's festival the success it continues to be. I thought about the word legacy when Connie asked me about this, and Old Webster defines it as the long-lasting impact of particular events, actions, etc., that took place in the past or of a person's life. In thinking about this, a few events came to my mind. As a student at North Carolina State University in 1973, Bill Davis hired me to help move his family back to his home in Wilkes County, where his job was to start a life sciences division at Wilkes Community College. He mentioned that one of the programs was to be horticulture. And that chance meeting led to my first job as an instructor at Wilkes Community College. 50 years ago, our college consisted, Jeff, of 3 buildings, a few trees, and a patch of grass. Not exactly an environment conducive to teaching successfully about varied landscapes, plant materials, and gardens. To create an outdoor lab for our students, we desperately needed finances that were not in any line item budget. Bill Davis encouraged me to develop a master plan for the campus, explaining to me that in his new role in development and fundraising for the college, an endowment corporation, now Allison known as the Foundation, was being organized. My plan for the grounds included a number of gardens, one of which was a native garden. Another was a garden for the blind. He invited me to a board retreat at a golf course to present my ideas. And I vividly remember being told, "You have one shot at this and don't screw it up." As I was leaving the golf course, because you see at that retreat, they were going to play golf after the meeting, Vernon Deal approached me and said he wanted to jumpstart things. At the dedication of the Vernon Louise Deal Native Garden, standing where the tennis courts are today, my comments looking east included, wouldn't it be nice if we owned that field over there? It was just a wet bottomland at that time. And maybe there could be a little cabin on the knoll so that people could remember what it was like, David, to live in the mountains of northwest North Carolina. After that dedication event, Ralph Williams, who as an adult lifelong learner was a student of mine, and he approached me and he said, "You know what? I know where there's a 200-year-old cabin, and I know the people that own that land, and I'm going to get them both for you." Bill, that was my first lesson in what you ingrained in me that I've tried to ingrain in Allison, is that people give to people. They don't give to causes. Another adult student in the class who had an interest in gardening volunteered that she thought I should meet Bill Young, who played guitar and was friends with Doc Watson. She explained that maybe we could go and talk to Doc and ask him if he would come and do a concert in what was then the newly opened 1,100-seat Walker Center. And that maybe we could use the proceeds to build a garden for the blind. My first meeting with Doc was in the fall of 1987. And it was successful with the understanding from Doc that while he was honored, he would only do this under one condition, and that would be if we would name the garden in the memory of his son, the late Eddie Merle Watson. Of course, we came back all excited and announced that we were going to have a concert in the Walker Center. Doc Watson was coming. This was September. And David, we were going to have the concert in October. I was asked by Bill Davis, and I cleared this with Bud Mays. Bud Mays, you see, controlled the calendar at the Walker Center. I said, not yet. I had no idea. When I asked Bud, of course, he said, "I'm sorry, that date's already booked." I thought that was it. Game over. I went back to teaching. When I told Bill Young about this, he responded by saying, "Hey, let's just go see Doc." And sitting in the Watsons' living room later that afternoon, we explained that the date was not available, and Doc's wife, Rosalie, immediately responded that we could just put it off until spring and have a festival, and that Doc would invite some of his and Merle's musician friends and have a festival. My response was, "What is a festival?" I credit Rosalie Watson with those words leading to what we know today, some 35 years later, as Merlefest. We can all take pride in knowing that in the words of Ralph Rensler, who discovered Doc and mentored me, that our festival has now truly taken on a life of its own. This event has been successfully cultivated through 4 administrations of the college. And we can expect the next generation of leadership that's to be soon selected by the Board of Trustees to continue nurturing this legacy. Now, Connie, I agreed to accept this award on behalf of Merlefest, but I will only do so if several folks will join me up here. This is dangerous. If I leave anyone out, I've got a get out clause at the end. David Johnson. David was the first musician that Bill Young and Doc Watson said had to play in 1988 at that festival. And I remember to this day, the first time I ever heard Orange Blossom Special played on the fiddle, David Johnson playing on that flatbed trailer in front of the cabin. And we're going to stand right over here because I think the photographer said that's the best place for a picture. So come on across, David. Connie McNeil, Foundation Board Member. Phil Stevens, Foundation Board Member. Allison Phillips, Vice President of Institutional Advancement and Executive Director of the WCC Foundation. Larry Stone, Trustee and past Foundation Board Member. Going over there. Dr. Gordon Burns, past President, and somebody else is going to take this picture, Gordon, because you're going to be in it. Dr. Jeff Cox, President. Dr. Bill Davis, past Foundation Executive Director and current Trustee. And in their absence, let's recognize past Directors Jim Barra and Ted Hageman, and current Director Wes Whitson, who could not be with us tonight, and David Deal. Let's remember David, his wife Jean is in surgery right now in Charlotte, who served as Festival Committee Chair and whose daddy and mother's name is on that first gift to the endowment corporation that started the Garden Project. And please, any other Foundation Board members that I might have missed, please join us so that we can accept this award together on behalf of our community.
Well, B, on behalf of the Wilkes County Hall of Fame Board, we recognize all of Merle Fest as this year's Legacy Award recipient. Give them a big round of applause. That's a good-looking group, isn't it? Well, congratulations to the 2023 Wilkes County Hall of Fame inductees and our Legacy Award recipient. I don't know where he went, but thank you, Larry, for once again being our Master of Ceremonies. You always add such a special touch to our gala. And thank you all for attending tonight. I hope that you enjoyed your meal and your time celebrating our inductees. If you would like to learn more about the Wilkes County Hall of Fame, please visit our website listed on the back of the brochure at your seat. And shameless plug here, please submit nominations. These people were not chosen by this board. These people were on a list because someone cared enough about what they did for Wilkes County and submitted a nomination. That's why they're here. Somebody in our community thought fondly enough of them to say, hey, this is a great person. How about you guys look at their nomination and consider them for the Hall of Fame? We're thankful for your support, and thanks to you, Miss Craft's class has enjoyed learning to play the ukulele. The parents at West Wilkes, their football team are thankful their students have safe football equipment. So I hope that each of you leave here tonight feeling inspired and with a renewed love for our great state of Wilkes. I pray that you all have a safe trip home, and we look forward to seeing you next year on May 16th, unless the race comes to town and messes that up, at the 10th Annual Wilkes County Hall of Fame Gala. Have a good night.